guys, what's going on? James here, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the Orlando Apollo's Week 3 21-17 win over the Memphis Express. So let's talk about it. So like I said, in today's video, we're going to be talking about the Orlando Apollo's 21-17 victory over the Memphis Express, otherwise known as Week 3 in the AAF. So there was a lot of positives, not only on the offensive side of the ball, but also on the defensive side of the ball. There were really weird quarterback scrambles, really weird tip drills that ended up being catches, interceptions, touchdowns galore. So let's get right into it. One of the first players that I want to know and that I want to talk about, he actually had a very good game early on, and then he showed up very much later in the game. It's former Buccaneers wide receiver Rennell Hall. This guy is another one of these wide receivers that has just been showing up huge for the Orlando Apollos. This week was his week, and now you have just this trio of wide receivers in Rennell Hall, Jalen Marshall, and Charles Johnson. I feel that Jalen Marshall really took a step back this week in terms of his overall production, but in place of Jalen Marshall, you had Rennell Hall. Him and Charles Johnson were probably the most two impressive wide receivers of the game for the Orlando Apollos. He obviously had a really big gain early on in the game, and then he also had an incredible touchdown play later on in the game. The connection of Garrett Gilbert to Rennell Hall was awesome. Really surprising to see Rennell Hall make that kind of really go up, kind of get it type of play, because we didn't necessarily see that with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I was very happy to see that. I'm very happy to see Rennell Hall just doing awesome things this week in the AAF. I really think that a lot of these guys on this Orlando Apollos team are going to get future shots in the NFL, and he's just another guy who's just coming up and making a name for himself in this new league and in this new format and whatnot. So it was really encouraging to see him have a really nice game here. Another guy who continued to do good, he actually scored a touchdown in this game, was running back D'Ernest Johnson. Now, when I started talking about Akeem Hunt and how, interested I was in seeing him play, one of the commenters left a comment saying, well, don't forget about D'Ernest Johnson because he's really good in his own right. And you know what? Yes, you are absolutely right. D'Ernest Johnson is a very good running back. Himself and Devion Smith both did some really good things in this game. Again, Akeem Hunt, kind of like Jalen Marshall, took a little bit of a step back, and in their place, we saw guys like D'Ernest Johnson and Devion Smith, step up and continue to do really good things. So really, just this Orlando Apollos offense is just insane, isn't it? You have Rennell Hall, Jalen Marshall, Charles Johnson, D'Ernest Johnson, Devion Smith, and Akeem Hunt at your skill positions, both running back and wide receiver. Tight end position, it's a little bit of a toss-up right now. We're not really seeing too much production there, besides, of course, the play I mentioned earlier, whereas this tip drill, and then ended up the tight end had caught it. But really, those six guys, those six skill players that I just mentioned, are doing some incredible things. It seems like every game, a couple of them are popping off for some big plays, be it in touchdowns, big yards gained, insane catches, whatever it may be. They're taking turns in a way. It's really cool to see, and I think all of these guys are doing an awesome job so far. Of course, the man who is leading it all, quarterback Garrett Gilbert. If there was an MVP award for the AAF right now, I think Garrett Gilbert's pretty high up there. He had another touchdown pass, like I said, to Rennell Hall earlier in the game. And then he also had an insane scrambling touchdown. I mean, me personally, I thought that it was poor tackling. But, regardless, Garrett Gilbert had a really nice, awesome rushing touchdown. He broke a tackle here. He evaded a defender there. He got in for the score that really helped put his team up in a, kind of a dire, clutch-ish type of situation. Just the drive and the determination that Garrett Gilbert had on that run was awesome to see. It's very rare that we see quarterbacks go for these long runs that result in touchdowns. So to see it in the league like the AAF was really cool to see, and it just keeps on week in and week out proving how impressive Garrett Gilbert has been. He has not thrown an interception yet. Correct me if I'm wrong down in the comment section below, but as far as I know, he's not thrown an interception. He just continues to make plays, be it through long gains on his feet, or by passing the ball, or just by flat out scoring touchdowns in whatever way he can, throwing touchdowns, running touchdowns. It doesn't matter. Garrett Gilbert is putting points up on the board. Steve Spurrier, I think, is doing an awesome job with just this entire offense. It's been pretty amazing to see. I think that the AAF so far up to this point is, the championship, or, whatever it is, it's the Apollos to lose. They've looked flat out awesome, at least on the offensive side of the ball, and definitely on the defensive side of the ball as well. Couple of things that I want to talk about on the defensive side of the ball, and kind of for the Memphis Express in their own right. Christian Hackenberg was the quarterback for, I believe, the first half or a good portion of this game, and then he was eventually benched for backup quarterback Zach Mettenberger, which Zach Mettenberger would go on to throw 2 touchdowns in his own right, no interceptions. Christian Hackenberger would throw 2 interceptions of his own. So, you know, is Mettenberger going to be the starting quarterback for the remaining of the season for the Memphis Express? If you want my opinion, I think he should be. You know, Christian Hackenberg is not a very good quarterback right now. I don't know what it is with him. Every chance he gets, you know, there seems to be a lot of hype surrounding him, and then he just blows it. You know, I'm sure he's a very nice guy, but he's not being a very good quarterback. He was intercepted 2 times in this game, one by Keith Reeser, one by Terrence Garvin, 2 of the defensive guys I mentioned that are just really doing awesome things in this league so far. Terrence Garvin continues his just impressive ability to get turnovers, as does Keith Reeser. You know, these guys, man, this Orlando Apollos team, you know, and it's consistently the same players, you know, the same 6, 7, 8 players that are just showing in and week out that they can get turnovers on the defensive side of the ball and that they can score touchdowns and get yards on the offensive side of the ball. That was really awesome to see. Keith Reeser, he's been an awesome quarterback so far. Terrence Garvin, he's just been an incredible linebacker. He might be one of the most valuable defensive players in the AAF right now, Terrence Garvin, that is. You know, I've said this, you know, I said this last week, I'm going to say it again this week. A lot of these guys on the Apollos should get a shot in the NFL, and I know it seems, you know, annoying and whatnot to bring up the NFL and the possibility of these guys going over and over and over again, but that's the goal. You know, that's the end goal for all of these guys, is to make it back into the NFL. And guys like Keith Reeser, guys like Terrence Garvin, Garrett Gilbert, you know, all the wide receivers I mentioned, Charles Johnson, Jalen Marshall, Rennell Hall, all the running backs I mentioned, Dearness Johnson, Akeem Hunt, Devion Smith, that's all their goal, is to get back into the NFL. So these guys are doing an awesome job building up their resumes against other NFL hopefuls, and I really think that it'll earn them some training camp spots or even, you know, some final roster spots in the near future. I'm very excited about this Orlando Apollos team, both on the offensive and the defensive side of the ball, and they're definitely, you know, making a name for themselves in this inaugural season, you know. Could they go undefeated? I have no idea. I'm sure this you know, momentum will eventually die down a little bit eventually, but right now things are looking good. Steve Spurrier, at the age of 73, is doing phenomenal things. You know, him and his staff, I could see a lot of these guys getting coaching opportunities in the NFL easily. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if Steve Spurrier gets, you know, calls to be an NFL head coach again after, you know, next season, whenever a couple more coaches get fired or retire or whatever have you. Steve Spurrier might even get some calls to come back. I don't think that one's going to happen. I think he's only, me personally, I think Steve Spurrier is only in it for the inaugural season, and I think he's going to dip out and, you know, retire and whatnot. But man, what a good season that all of these Orlando Apollos guys are having, both on the coaching side and on the playing side. A lot of these guys are going to end up in the NFL. That's just my opinion, but you know what? I think it's a pretty safe opinion right now, to be fair. But guys, let me know what you think about the Orlando Apollos AAF Week 3 victory down in the comment section below. Next week they play the Salt Lake Stallions. That should be an awesome game, and you know, at this point it's one I fully expect the Orlando Apollos to win. So let me know what you think about all this down in the comment section below. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. It's awesome to talk about another win, you know, especially in the off season when we don't get any NFL football. So this has been a lot of fun so far. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and as always, I'll see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, goodbye for now. And go Apollos.